All right, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Hard Claim with Viva La Sam. I'm Sam, and this is a show where we talk to people who play Blood on the Clocktower and get their player perspective of the game. Joining us this week is Ross. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Ross has played in my games and in other games for, I think, longer than I've been playing, even if I'm not mistaken.
I talked to Scott W., who introduced me to the game. He said our first game was September of 2020,
That
which
makes sense.
surprised me. I thought it was longer, but
Mine was
seems
in October, so it was just like right after.
yeah.
So let's get more into that here in a moment, but let's start with asking about your hard claim. You did draw the empath token. You chose a script because it has Al Hadikia on it. We'll talk more about that later. This is Al versus Al, which is the script for Al Sahir, the release script by Ekin. Pretty good script, I thought. You drew the empath token. I would wake you up in the night and tell you that you learned a 1. So with that in mind, what would you claim if we were the first conversation on day 1?
Okay. I am well known as the person that broadcasts whatever information it gets, which is why I was drunk or poisoned for the first year of playing this game. It was a great meme. So nobody trusts my information until day 3 or, whatever. I would probably, looking at this list, I would probably claim seamstress or fisherman, maybe even general, because it's information that you want later on in the game, right? So I'd be able to stick around a little bit. I'm not as big a threat because they're kind of, I'm not going to say lame powers, but lower powered roles. So I would probably go with that if I didn't outright just tell you. Like if you were one of my neighbors, I would tell you I have a 1. So
would you push on one of your neighbors to try to get more information or try to kill an evil, or would you just kind of see how it plays out?
that's a good question. Depending on who the neighbor is, some people I can read relatively well.
Right.
If I've got a 1, then it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to see if they're going to claim recluse on me in a role in a script where they've got recluse or something like that, right? If they don't, yeah, depends on what the funny part, the funniest thing to me is, or the most fun thing to me is to do, right? So an example, if it's Matthew, my friend Matthew, yeah, I'm going to push on that. I love to accuse Matthew of doing things that no human being is possible they could possibly do. So,
and he'll always give you a reaction too, right?
Which is great. It's one of the reasons why I love him so much. He's a really good guy. He's a great player, and yeah, he always manages to surprise me. So yeah,
and
I don't remember what the question was.
just talking about empath and how you would play it and your neighbors, and I think that gets to a good point about this game too. Is that it's not just, yes, there's a lot of information, but it's still a social game. So you may or may not want to put a show on your neighbors depending on how they're behaving or how you read them, basically.
Sure, and social is really the main drive for me to play this game at all. I'm not the most left-brained, and I'm not the most intuitive either. I'm somewhere in the middle. But what I feel my strength is in this game, and in general, is I'm a social connector. So like I like to push quiet people. I like to engage them and get them involved and make them feel welcome in what they're doing. I like to things I like about this game is that we're all doing, especially as a townsfolk, we're all working together to solve a puzzle. If I'm evil, then I'm doing things to make the game as interesting for town as possible. Right. So it's like I've been a storyteller. I've been gaming since the late 70s. So I was alive during that, folks. And it's just to make sure that my friends have the most fun possible is my main drive.
And I do think you mentioned trying to get quieter people to talk. I do think this is a game that tends to attract introverts and provides a good kind of like shell for them to
Yeah,
play a game and interact with other people.
especially online because you can keep your camera off if you want, or use an avatar
Hmm.
or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I always prefer playing with camera, but I would always prefer somebody to be more comfortable and play without a camera if they don't want to have one, than to say, "Oh no, you can't play."
True.
Yeah.
It's a cheat. If this ugly mug has to be on camera, yours does too. But and it does make them hard to read when you can't see what they're doing.
A little
But
bit, yeah.
yeah, a little bit.
But it's a trade off. I feel like it's worth it.
Sure.
So you mentioned your first game around like September 2020. Me and you started playing roughly at the same time. You slightly before me. Do you remember what your first game was like, or your first several games, and how those went?
Yeah. Trouble Brewing. Scott Witebski was running it. He pokes his head around every once in a while, but he hasn't played in forever. Um,
The
but
busy
yeah,
guy.
yeah, he's a busy guy. But just watching, he would have us play it. We'd been playing Werewolf for a while with the Dice Tower. You were in that too, yeah?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And watching how that would go, and there's a rote way that you played Werewolf and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, this is fun. Again, I'm meeting people. We're in the middle of the pandemic, so any kind of social outlet is, or any kind of contact is highly sought after. So he asked us to play this game. We had, I don't know, so maybe 8 or 9 people. He didn't really know what he was doing. We didn't really know what we were doing. Um, but like, okay, how does this work? What does this do? I remember being very intimidated and praying that I didn't get an evil token. The pressure of that, of getting a demon token in the beginning, was so terrifying. It's like, please, please, please. And when you did, you're like, your heart just dropped.
My very first game with this group, I was imp.
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
that's
like,
uh, and that's on video too. I've mentioned it before. This is on this channel for anybody who wants to go back and watch it. But
yeah,
yeah, that was very nerve wracking for me.
yeah, yeah. And just fun and kind of feeling people out and getting to know them. A lot of people, there's a lot of folk in that just aren't playing anymore, and I miss them. But some real characters, right? So yeah, like a lot of my, I've got lot of really fond memories of those first couple of games. But like I said, poisoned and or drunk. Scott thought that was hilarious. Uh, so, and he knew I'd broadcast it. So, I was performing a function, even though I didn't know I was doing it at the time.
Yeah, and do you think you were hooked right away, or did it take a few games? Like, or I guess put another way, when would you say that you were hooked, and what hooked you in?
Almost immediately. The Again, hanging out with these people that are all excited and interested about something, um, new powers, new abilities. I mean, all of it was new to us at the time. Now we get like character reveals, but in the beginning, every single role was brand new. And what does this do? And how do we work that out? And what is this interaction like? What is that interaction like? You're exploring a whole new world. And the fact that this came out of a game that you're somewhat familiar with in Werewolf, and then make it so that you can continue to participate once you're dead, instead of just walking away. It didn't make the sting of dying first, which I would say is a major flaw. A lot of the games, social deduction games that I've played, is that I'm out. It no longer matters to me. I go find another table, right? But with this one, you're in it the whole way and trying to puzzle it out with the other people.
Yeah, and so do you kind of remember what your progression was like? Yeah, I always describe it as kind of like beginner to intermediate to experienced, not expert, but experienced.
Yeah,
uh,
definitely not an expert. Ask anybody.
so do you have a sense of like what that progression was like for you? Like any like key moments, like aha moments?
Yeah, beginner was, what the heck am I doing and what is this, and everything is a big jumbled ball. Intermediate, okay, you kind of know what's going on. Now you can kind of experiment with roles, what you bluff, what you don't, um, going for bizarre plays just to see what it would do. Um, and then experienced Well, I realized that some of those wild plays weren't great, and some of them were fantastic, so I can use those and expand on them. Um, it was, I think it's more group based as far as those levels are concerned,
Hmm.
because I grew with a lot of folk, right? Like I know how to read I know how to read Guami better at experience than I did at and just assume that he's lying. So that helps. Um, you just get to know people better. Experience to me means I kind of know how the other players play, not necessarily how the roles go. Just and more comfortable and not caring so much if I made a mistake.
Hmm.
You know, there was a game. I was mortified at it too. Two Chris's playing the game, and I'm pretty sure it was you or it was Manny. I think it was Manny. Yeah,
I might have been
Manny.
spectating this game. I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it was Manny, and he told me that my demon or my minion was Chris, one of the two, I can't remember, and I went to the wrong Chris and gave him Chris Werewolf Killer, and I gave him all of the evil information. Game over in 2 minutes, and I didn't live that down for a very long time, but it was funny, you know.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I never would have come back with that level of embarrassment. But as an intermediate slash experienced person, I've seen plenty of people make mistakes. I've seen them make them after I did, i.e., Jeremy. If you've talked to him yet, I don't know. But yeah, it's all in fun.
Yeah. So how often do you get to play currently? Both, whether it's online or in person. I don't know if you get to play in person much or not, but
Um, Online, uh, once, maybe twice a week, if I can get in on Hellas games. Like, or if I'm not playing it, I'm watching it. NRB when they come out. Um, Ben's channel and here. Like I was watching your games last night. In person, not so much lately. Um, for a long time, I was running games at game stores, at game cafes. We had a group of 20 or 30, uh, probably about 20 minutes out from here. I was playing because the popularity of the game was so high. I was playing up to 20-player games as a storyteller.
amazing.
I remember talking to you about that and how
Hmm.
intimidating that is. But you stick to basic scripts and just step by step by step.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So once or twice a week, maybe two games a session. So four tops.
Do you actually play online, or sorry, do you actually play in person, or do you only storytell mainly?
Only storytell in person. Like I'll run an event or something like, or an event will be run and I'll volunteer to play it to run it there. I would love to. Sorry. Uh, Power is spotty here in Canada for some reason. Uh, yeah, basically the opportunity for me to actually play a role hasn't come up yet. I was offered. Someone asked to offer it, and I didn't care for them that much as a player. They're a bit of an alpha player, so I kind of knew where that was going to go, and I do my best to avoid negativity and or um, I think they call it neurospicy players and storytellers. But I will play if given the opportunity. I've got a friend that wants to run it, and I'd happily step in and play a role.
So even though you haven't really played in person, what would you say kind of like the differences? How do you feel about the differences between how the game plays in person versus online?
Okay, we're going to get controversial here. You and I have had many a discussion about this. I know we disagree, but the beauty of the game is that you can cater it to your groups and
Mhm.
make it your own. Um, as written, the difference with live play is you can't record anything, you can't take notes, you have to pretty much rely on memory. Um, for my games, I'll let you write stuff on your phone. Um, More power to it. But here's the thing about that is that if you're writing stuff on your phone, that means that you're recording information, which means that attention is being drawn to you. So be able to back up what you're doing. I don't think it hurts. Actually, I think it only helps in that case. Information is kept. Not a lot of people do it, but the opportunity to have them do it is there. Um, yeah, I'll do that in person and online. I'll talk. I'll do this one too. Prepare yourselves. Uh, I will social engineer the script sometimes, um, or the roles that are played out. I had a player with the strongest fingers on the planet, and he literally like separated the tokens three
Oh
or four
yeah, yeah.
times. So I don't.
Oh.
I don't do that anymore. So basically, what I'll do is I'll take all the pieces, I'll shuffle them out, I'll make the circle, and then I'll have each person come in turn along the circle. This is the role they would have pulled anyway. It's a random. But I will switch it for a player. Like if you've got a very introverted or very shy player, I'm not going to give them demon first game. I, you know what? I might even switch it so that their demon and their minion is switched. Like I don't switch alignments, I don't switch that kind of stuff, but I'll do it. So I've got a player, a good friend of mine, but he hates any kind of pressure like that. So I would give him empath or I would give him chef. He can participate, he can do what he wants, but he doesn't have to be vocal and center of attention. Right? Some people won't like that, but it works for us and it doesn't hurt anybody. So
Yeah, I know that's something I'll always generally speak out against, but also can't. Basically, like you said, it works for your group. So if it works for your group, what do you care what I think? You know?
no, I do, and
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
much so, right? And uh, when I played at the Dice Tower retreat, you don't get that option. You don't get the recording. I can do it. I just have more fun when there's a little less pressure. It's a tough enough game as is. Some of the scripts to have to remember
Yeah. Well,
Dreamer information or Savant information on day 5 while you're being nominated. Good luck, right? So
and on that topic of note taking, different groups feel about it differently. But I always encourage. Well, I don't encourage note taking, but like I always openly allow. I encourage other people to allow it because some people legitimately have like memory issues. So
mhm,
as far as I'm concerned, it's an accessibility concern. We've had guests on here before who need to be able to take at least some notes.
yeah,
And I have I've ran mini games in person where maybe one person's taking notes. Sometimes they're taking a lot of notes. Sometimes they're taking a few. Sometimes it's because they need to in order to be able to function in the game. Sometimes it's just what they like to do.
yeah.
And I don't find it breaks the game personally. It changes it slightly, but you can write something wrong. You can be evil bluffing. So yeah.
And someone poisoned you, and you wrote down information that you will now happily spread, and help the evil team, right? So yeah, no, it's preference, it's all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't think it's as I don't think it's as huge an issue as you and I have made it out to be. In fun, you know what I mean? I think we could play in the same game or at two separate tables in the same conference room and still have a blast, both groups. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's totally fine to do note taking. So when you do sit down for a game, and I guess this had to be online since you haven't technically played in person, but before you've drawn your token, what are you thinking? Are you like trying to feel out the script, the players, or just kind of not really thinking about it?
not really think about it. I'm usually engaging somebody in nonsense pre-game, um, talking about my day, talking about their day, something I saw on the news, a joke that I just heard.
And a lot of times that
Maybe,
ends up running out throughout the game, right? Maybe like it's something you just talk about a subject and then it just becomes something that spreads for the next 2 hours.
yeah, it's the meta of the game or whatever. That yeah, so no, and it's just fun. And if people are if people are smiling and enjoying the conversation, it's like having a gathering at your house, right? That's
Hmm.
really what it is for me. That people are coming to my house. I'm inviting you over, whether I'm storyteller or not, and we're gonna have a good time, right? And if it means not everybody understands what I'm talking about, and I think that's the fun for a lot of people. It's still cool, yeah.
Nina sent me a message saying that she uses things you've said for titles of our videos.
Really, I didn't. I'm gonna have to go take a look at that. Okay, I didn't notice. That's great. I like that.
Yeah.
I like. Oh, speaking of which, if Ekin is watching this, this script should be called. You can call me Al. It really should be, or I'll be there for you. Anyway, come on, Ekin. I don't know you, but you know that sounds better.
All right. So straightforward. Do you prefer to be good or evil?
Depends on my mood. Depends on my mood. Both have their appeal. Um, as I said it earlier, here is in town. I'm part of a team, and I'm doing my best to make sure that one, my information is out, and that we're solving things, and I'm helping. If I'm not solving the thing, because there are our game solvers generally click together and they do their thing. I don't always get the information they get. Um, Again, see back to I'm usually drunk or poisoned, so don't trust my information. But eventually they figure out that what I said was good and I've helped and I feel like I'm part of that. As the evil team, the appeal there is one for working for the ultimate evil goals, but um, screwing people up, poking and prodding at them, making them paranoid, making them nervous. Minion is ideal for me. I'll do either or now. Like I'm looking. Let me look at this script. On this script, a poisoner. I think that would be amazing role in this. That would be my favorite one in this one. But I have played a game of this where I was the Baron. What was it, this one? I played a role where I was a Baron and I bluffed as the demon and told Robert that he was my marionette. And uh, I think that's one of my favorite games and favorite situations in the history of my play is him hard claiming me as Jerkface. There's a clip of that somewhere that needs to come out. I had so much fun with that. Because Robert is a hard player to read. He is a hard player to fool. And the fact that I got away with it is a career highlight. That was fun. It was worth it just to do that.
Dirty little liar.
Well,
Chat, just to catch you up, Ross is a big jerk face.
Well, we knew
He's
that.
hard claiming jerk face.
oh man, hard claim, jerk face. Oh man,
Clip on
that
the
was
Twitch.
good.
Kudos.
He also says before the end of the episode, you should get him to say hard claim.
What hard claim?
Yep. All right. So speaking of this script, so it was chosen because you really like the Al Hadikia. What is it about that you like?
The push and pull, the tension that demon creates is I can't think of anything cooler than that, demon wise. Just like okay, well, who do you choose? What as the demon? Who do you choose? What order do you choose them in? Who is more likely to say no? Who is more likely to say yes? Reading your players, the tension of as a player, depending on the order, but like, what if we all say yes? Not all of us. Surely all of us can't say yes, but what if we do? And just that paranoia there. Uh, I love that. I love that tension of that. Another one would be it's a faster one, but Riot is another favorite of mine that we don't see enough of, but it's very specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one of those like we've got 10 minutes to spare at the end of the night kind of deals. But anything that's takes what you know and twists it slightly. Uh, TB plus one or strings pulling. I think you said it was right where
Yeah.
you take Trouble Brewing and add a marionette, and everybody is convinced that they're the marionette, and no one wants to nominate, and no one can that's just beautiful to me. Um, it's an exciting thing for me to see. That's why I picked Al Hadid tonight is one, and then the announcement of it, you can really role play that up, right? As a storyteller, you can make it as done D&D as you want it or not, but it's like you have picked this person and ooh, and then that person, oh my goodness, what are they going to do? Just cool.
So when you're playing against Al Hadikia, and let's say you're chosen at the night, do you have kind of like a thought process? For example, you're an empath. if you're chosen at night, how do you work that out? Choosing live or die.
Okay. Um, if I've had a 0 all game, I don't mind going. I'll do the die, because if I feel like, in this situation, seat 12 and seat 2, they're both good players, and they've got powers that are a little more important than mine. Yeah, I'll take the hit. I don't mind taking the hit for the team, so the other two can live, kind of thing, right? Makes you kind of a hero in your own head, anyway, right? Noble
Yeah.
sacrifice.
I've seen
If
I've seen grim scenarios kind of suggest that even within like Trouble Brewing, you're an empath with a 0. You got amazing information. Nominate a virgin and confirm you're not a drunk, and yeah, that can be really powerful.
Sure, and if you're poisoning me, then I'm getting bad information anyway, and I'm not helpful, so that's cool too, right? Now, if I've got a one, I might stick around. But if I don't, everybody's knowing I've got a one before I go. Right, right.
Is there any other characters you kind of like? Townsfolk, outsiders, minions, demons.
In here,
Just in general. I mean, it can be from
uh,
here too if you'd like.
hmm,
I didn't know if there's just any characters that stick out in your head, regardless of character type, that you just really like.
psychopath,
You like
uh,
psychopath?
psych- psychopath, goblin, psychopath for the Rochambeau, goblin for the is he the goblin? Is he not the goblin? Do we push? Do we not? Um, townfolk roles. I can't think of one off the top of my head that I think is really cool. Uh, no, no, I'll take whatever with townfolk.
Any kind of characters you prefer to avoid?
Um, atheist, because I'm not, and heretic. No, you know what? Heretic's
Also
fine.
because you're not?
That well, it depends on who you're talking to, right? You know what? I wouldn't avoid heretic. Heretic is cool. Uh, atheist. I mean, if you're good enough at storytelling, Sam, that it's difficult to figure out you're screwing things up until really late. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, it's it's one of the reasons why I don't like BMR. Is that you feel like you don't really know what's going on for 90% of the game, and nobody's dying, and nothing makes sense, and I just find that
Or everybody's
endlessly,
dying?
and yeah, and I just find it endlessly frustrating and long, and that I think I need to play more of it now in the non-Zoom era. I've avoided it. Uh, if it's being played, okay, but I usually tend to avoid it because it's like 4 hour game. Okay, and that was again because of the technology we were using at the time. But even then, uh, give me something I can parse out, or somebody else can parse out. When your Mannies and your Gens don't know what's going on, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Right.
I love that. All right, so since we're on the topic of base scripts, you just mentioned Bad Moon Rising, probably your least favorite. Which
Yeah.
which of the three would you say is your favorite? Trouble Brewing, Sex and Violets.
Sex and Violets.
Okay.
Or it's not that, and a close second is Trouble with Violets, where it mixes the two.
Okay.
The townsfolk of Trouble Brewing and the evil team of Sex and Violets. I like that a lot. I like stepping. I think we did Sex and Violets second. We didn't go to BMR when we were learning this stuff back in 2020. Okay, there are different demons now, and they do different things, and that's cool. And they can do this, and they can do the other thing. Adds a little bit more to the Trouble Brewing puzzle, but you still have the roles of Trouble Brewing, so they're familiar. That like what they do. But just sorry, base scripts. Sex and Violets is my favorite. Trouble Brewing, because and that's like it's like the porridge of the clock tower. It's satisfying and it fills you up, but it's kind of it's not all that great. And then BMR far third.
Got it. So Sex and Violence does introduce the concept of madness. How do you feel about madness in this game?
Uh, as someone who is madness being inflicted upon, maddening, and I use the word uh, intentionally. Um, yeah, basically, okay, I must communicate this information. Okay, I cannot tell you how many times I've completely forgotten that I'm madness, and
I've
like
had it
it's
executed a time or two because of that.
absolutely, and it's like, okay, well, what can I say where Sam will not do it? Um, but sometimes, you know what? It's helpful in that situation too, because it's like, okay, well, clearly there's a madness inducing character here because I am
Mhm.
now dead for no other reason. That's information that comes out. So even my mistake has a benefit to it. Um, being the person that maddens, that's cool too, because you can play with people's heads. I think you talked to someone about Sarah locking a person. I won't do that.
Mhm.
Um, I
It
might
was
switch you to
Navian, I
somebody else.
believe.
Yeah, right. So that's just cruel. You know what I mean? That's a thing that gets you punched in the throat in real life if you're playing with your friends. You know what I mean? Um, if they're mad at you, it's for a reason because you're making the game not fun for them. Uh, so moving it around a little bit. My personal way of playing it, you do you, right? As whoever is watching this, if you want to keep somebody mad, it's the same thing the entire game, and it's helpful. I don't think it's at some point it becomes very obvious that they're mad.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you're doing that. You mix it around so you're adding confusion.
Mhm. Sex and Violence also features a lot of character changing, way more than the other two scripts. Is that something you like about Sex and Violence?
Yeah, yeah. Switching to what snake charmers in that, right? Um,
Snake Charmer,
Barber.
Barber, Pit Hag, Fangu.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I do. I really like that. The surprise of, okay, well, I'm just a lowly barber. Well, wait a minute. No, now I'm the demon, and I don't know who my evil team is.
Yeah.
I hope that guy comes or girl comes and talks to me today because I need to know what's going on. It's a surprise. So, and I like that. It just give me something give me something exciting. Yeah, I'll take that all day, all day.
Right. Well, one of my favorite sections is talking about what might be described as divisive characters.
Okay.
And so we've already talked about some of these, but we'll go over them anyway. So how do you? And this is on Sex and Violence. So how do you feel about Snake Charmer?
Snake charmer. How many times you're going to use it? Uh, I would like to be the demon early if I'm going to be it at all. I haven't been it many times, maybe less than a handful in the 4 years we've been playing. I guess I've been fortunate enough for that. Um, as an evil player and Snake Charmer's in there and they become the demon, I'm getting confirmation from my demon before I say anything to you. But that's just an extra. That's just an extra player now for me. That great. Yeah, I'll take it. An extra team member.
All right. How do you feel about Poppy Grower?
I think as an evil player, that is fun to have a poppy grower in the game. You don't know who anything is, so I'm not going to say fear because I'm not afraid of it, but like the holy crap, I've got to figure this out. Like there's a timer almost on like let's get this figured out before I'm completely demolished. As a townsfolk, or if I am the poppy grower, I kind of feel bad for evil team because they've got to do that scramble. But yeah, it's a nice little mix up for it. I'm in for it. I think it's I don't if it's being used in every script that it's in, you know what I mean? Like if we're playing a game and it has Poppy Grower and you're putting Poppy Grower in every single time, that's abusive again. But you don't, and most storytellers don't. But the threat of it is great,
Mhm.
even as a bluff, even as a bluff, right? To kind of mask what the evil team is doing. That's cool
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and because it is a free bluff, right? When it's not in play, because people knows.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we mentioned this one before, but the next one is Atheist. So not a fan.
Yeah. I don't mind it. I don't. I don't think people. I don't think it comes up in a lot of scripts, right? That we
Right.
play anyway. If it's there, again, um, eventually we'll figure it out. And someone will eventually, the solvers will eventually tell me that it's there and this is what we're doing, um, right? Um,
Yeah,
I don't.
it's recommended that if there is an atheist in play, that the good team wins about 80 to 90% of the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I, I'm not crazy about it. I don't hate it. I don't think even BMR there isn't a character or a script that I hate that we've played so far. Um, but uh, I'd rather not. But I'll play it either way.
I think it's pretty similar to my own philosophy. There's characters. There's not many characters I'm like, eh. King and Choirboy is perhaps my least favorite in the entire game. But
Mm.
I'm kind of like you. I'm just kind of fine with it, even if I wouldn't necessarily prefer it.
Uh, okay, I just figured out what character I'd avoid as a townsfolk.
Okay.
Lycanthrope. Um, for evil team, that sucks having a lycanthrope in the game.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You can't. This is your role, but the only thing that you can do, you can't do because the lycanthrope is doing it. And you know what? And guess what? Most of the power players already know who the lycanthrope is, and they're discussing already. By my experience, uh, no, no, thank you. Like, yeah, I do not lycanthrope.
Yeah, I don't ask specifically about lycanthrope, but I do think that would be a strong candidate for this section because, you know, understandably, a lot of people just really don't like it because it just takes away from the evil team just so much.
It takes your life your power away. The only thing that you've got, the fun that you're about to have, you can't do. No,
Yeah,
I would stay off. I wouldn't put
yeah,
that in. But
that's fair. I don't mind it personally, but it's very easy to see why others you don't like it, and it's hard to fit into a script anyway. So
yeah.
I'm rarely putting it into a script. It's kind of like Atheist. Atheist is hard to fit into a script, and I
Hmm.
consider Atheist to be basically the most advanced experimental character, at least for a storyteller, that there is, because it is just so easy to mess up and not run a fun game. But if you can run a fun game with it, it can really shine. At least some of the time.
Now, could you put atheist in a Legion game?
Well, you wouldn't be able to put Legion into the bag.
Yeah, exactly right. So
Yeah. There's maybe shenanigans you could do where there's a lunatic on the script and you have, 9 lunatics and 3 good players
yeah,
or something like that. But
yeah, yeah.
it's kind of
Just do
it's
it.
kind of it's kind of questionable whether or not usually the question of the atheist isn't if you can do it, it's if it'll be fun.
I guess that's what it comes down to. Like you
Yeah.
could
And
simulate
that can be
anything
very
you
group
want with
dependent
those, right?
too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if there's someone if you've got a group that's excited about experimenting and trying new things, cool, I guess, right? Even yeah, but again, group dependent.
Yeah. So another one we mentioned earlier was Heretic. Uh, how do you feel about Heretic?
Heretic, I don't mind.
Don't
Heretic,
mind
I
it.
don't mind. Yeah, okay. Well, I win if I lose. Okay. And if I've got it figured out soon enough as an evil team, yeah, I'll off myself. Cool. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, I like that one. I do like that one.
Cool. Well, one more to talk about, and that is Legion. How do you feel about Legion?
I have never been Legion. I've always been townsfolk. So I would like to be Legion. I'm going to say I'm all about Legion until I actually play Legion, and then I'll have a stronger opinion or a more informed opinion on what it is. Yeah, I know I don't have a lot of experience with it. I don't think I don't think I've played it that many times. I know that it's not very well liked. Um, it
Yeah,
sounds like a
there's a
great
reason why it's
idea
on
to
the
me.
section. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know why. I love the idea of it. Again, same thing to me. The flavor of it, the story behind it is neat, or is kind of like a Village of the
Mhm.
Damned kind of thing. Um, I love that. Like as a writer, or as someone who does creative writing, or whatever you want to call it, that idea is neat. Riot, same thing. You've kind of got like these three people that are thugs, and they're just destroying things as you go. Knock them out. Just I don't know, just cool. Um,
Legion's also a character I've always heard works okay online, but even better in person. And I can
okay.
see that because it's a very social demon, right? Because all Legion can do is play a social game. They, you know, have no, you know, ability that they can personally use at night. Which is also why
Mhm.
some people don't like it, and I can get that. But
Sure.
yeah,
I'd
it's a
imagine
very
like your
social
really
demon.
hardcore, like logic-based players probably hate the heck out of that one, right? But as a right brainer probably loves everything about that, right? So, and I think I'm more towards that, where okay, this is fun to play. How can I back up my fellow Legion? How can I screw with townsfolk's heads a little bit? How can I get them to trust me? What can I bluff? What is everybody else bluffing?
Right.
The idea of Legion appeals to me a lot. I just don't have a lot of experience with it.
That's fair. And I know, and I guess you don't have a ton of experience with this, just like you said, but I know in our group, I feel like everybody knows each other, or not everybody, but we have so many players who have played literally hundreds of games together
Yeah.
that Legion they can coordinate quite well. Very often, they'll very quickly pick out bluffs. Spread the bluffs to other people. Oh, this is what this person's bluffing. Because sometimes a telltale sign of a Legion game is a lot of double claims.
Mm-hmm.
And I find in our games we don't see that. I mean, we'll see that a little bit, but everybody communicates real quickly. Maybe it means I need to run those days quicker. I don't know, but they're usually pretty fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's tooting our own horn. Our group is right now. I think our group is the best it's been since starting. Um, we've definitely had our ups and downs and our bumps and bruises along the way, but I
Hmm.
think as it is right now, we've the collection of people that are actively playing are mature enough, experienced enough, um, graceful or gracious, I think is the better word for it, enough to make sure that they can play the game well. They get along with others. They respect other players. So this is kind of I guess this is now an advertisement for our game group, but I think everybody's
I'll take it.
for the most part friends. For the most part, friends, right? Even if you know different continents, you know how many friends do we have in like what, Portugal, Denmark, Sweden, England? Like, that blows
Australia.
my mind. Yeah, it blows my mind that we're gaming with people. I'm having daily interaction with people that are on the other side of the planet. That's
I have people from the UK who stay up till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning their time so they can play my games, and
well,
I'm amazed by it.
well, some of them stay up, some of them don't. Some of them sleep right through
Someone role plays actually sleeping at night during the
it.
night phase.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we do have a section here for multiple choice, and I just like to just throw them out there. So we'll start with village idiot, huntsman, or noble.
Noble.
Noble. What do you like about noble?
Noble. I've got three names. I've got it the first night, and I can kind of feel those people out um, throughout the first couple of days. I have that information. I'll share it for sure with one person, usually the wrong person, but I'll. Right. Um, have we? Have I mentioned that I talked to the three-quarters of the evil team first night or first day every single game I play? Have I? Have we
I
talked
don't
about
think you
that yet?
mentioned that. No, not
No,
yet.
I do. I do. It's terrifying the rate at which I. So yeah, because they want to give me information, bad information, so I'll spread it. So no, but no. Back to the question with Noble. Um, yeah, I start the game knowing something. I'm not going to learn anything else through the rest of the game. The pressure is off.
It's fair. I remember being the noble once in a game with you, and I think I just went to all three of my noble pings and claimed balloonist. I was like, "Oh, I saw you last night," and then we lost to a damsel. So
Yeah. So
that's just how that goes.
you didn't get to figure out how that play was going to work.
Yeah, it was the start of a fun play. I believe you were pretty open with trying to share what you were, which maybe trusts you pretty well. So you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm the so and so. So yeah. So Noble, how do you feel? Have you had a chance to play with Village Idiot yet?
I've been in a game with it. I don't think I've been one.
It's still pretty new, so yeah.
Yeah. No comments from the peanut gallery.
There's characters that's been around, even sometimes from the base game, that because there's just so many characters, it's hard to. There's characters that I've barely ever been.
I'm looking at the script, the Al versus Al. I've never been seamstress. I've never been barber. Yeah, that kind of thing. It's like you said, you could be there forever. It's just luck of the draw. Right?
Ben Burns regularly says on he'll pull a character when he's playing on TPI stream, and he'll like, oh, I've never been this character before. Then 10 people in chat be like, yes, you have.
Well, yeah, I mean, how many games does the guy run a day or week? I mean,
right.
I forgive him for not
remembering at all.
Not remembering, and then a lot of times he'll even say in the recordings, it's like, no pressure, I don't have to do anything. I bet he's glad just to hang out and not have to think about 10,000 things all the time. That's got to be a relief for him,
All right, next question: Plague Doctor, Ogre, or Damsel?
Ogre.
Have you got to play with Ogre yet?
I have played Ogre, and you pick your player, and it's ride or die. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah, I've done it once, and Chris A was Ogre picked me as evil, and either way, you're working together. You've got one teammate. Well, I guess it depends on which side of the equation you're on. As the evil player, I got one teammate that I know I can lead by the nose for most of the game, and let them know what's going on.
Well, it can be tricky too, because that could be a bluff, right?
Yeah, it's
so
true.
If he wasn't actually the ogre, you just gave him way too much info.
True that.
But yeah, I think it's part of the fun of it, and I mean, I've been very vocal about how much I love Ogre. Like you said, ride or die.
Yeah. Either way, you win with that teammate, or you don't, or you lose with that teammate.
Since I brought it up, how do you feel about Damsel? I feel like that's a character that some people might like more or not like more.
I don't. As a storytelling mechanism, I don't think it's all that effective. No one in the world is going to tell you they're the damsel, right? Why would they? The huntsman's got they got their job set out for them, and good luck to you, right? I have seen it done where they pick the damsel, and great. I've seen it where the minions pick the damsel and the game's over. That's a thrill, but okay, well, as the damsel player, you're terrified of either result. I guess, right? If the huntsman picks you, okay, well, hopefully I get a decent enough roll. If the minions pick me, well, then game's over and it's my fault, quote unquote. Yeah, I don't think it's that great. It can be fun, but as a player, it's endless stress. I don't know.
That's fair. A while back ago, I ran a game that had a damsel huntsman, and somebody in my Twitch chat said, or asked me what I was thinking the character I would turn a damsel into if the huntsman picks him. And I said, I have never actually ran a game where the huntsman picked the damsel, ever. Mm-hmm. And that remains true to this day. So I do not spend any time thinking about, what would I turn the damsel into?
No, let's deal with it if it happens, right?
But I also have the view that huntsmen, yes, it's good if they can find the damsel and pick them, but huntsmen really exist to just know that a damsel even exists.
Yeah.
And I feel like groups tend to, over time, learn that if there's a damsel on the script, or especially if you kind of know one's in play because of a huntsman, your job is kind of cover for the damsel. Yeah. Especially if everybody's hard claiming, then the damsel is kind of left double claiming somebody or accidentally picking a demon bluff. Then That's kind of where Damsel can more likely go awry. Generally, though, I tend to think Damsel is just more of a misinformation mechanic because they can't be open about what they are, et cetera, et cetera.
Like I don't know the game developers or anything like that, but I'd imagine they're going with the damsel in distress and constantly in peril. So thematically it works, and again the idea of that is cool. I don't think it's that exciting.
Fair enough.
I don't.
All right. Let's go with Mezephiles, Organ Grinder, or Fearmonger.
Mezephiles.
Like Mezephiles?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm naming every food stuff I can think of because it's usually food for whatever reason in our group. No, yeah, just make me evil so that I know exactly who my team is and we can work together on that thing. Make as if I am the Mez, getting you to say the word without telling you, hey, you know what? Do you want to be evil? Say this word. That's a fun puzzle. That's a fun little challenge. I think I did it at one point. I was so obvious about it. I almost got Ned with it too, where it's like, oh, I'm doing a crossword puzzle. What's a 4-letter word for scared, or whatever?
That one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He almost went with it too. He almost did it, but he started and everyone shouted him down. So that's fun to me. That's fun.
I do enjoy running it, or not even running it. It's just on the script, and then next thing I know, in day one, everybody's just yelling out different foods because somebody went around saying, "Oh, I heard the Mez word is a food, so just say different foods." It's very silly but fun. All right, so going with some demons here, we got Oho, Lil Monster, or Leech.
Oho is the one where you're killing a character.
Yeah, you choose a character, and if it's not in play, then the storyteller chooses who dies.
Oho. I would go with Oho. Little Monster, playing against Little Monster with it juggling all over the place, that's a challenge. I enjoy it, but And then Leech, I've seen Leech. I'm familiar with Leech. Oho's new and shiny. I think that's
right.
Any of them I will play with. Oho is new, so I would pick that one.
All right. Well, one final question for you. So looking at the script here from Al versus Hal, what character would you like to be in real life?
Bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter. Yeah.
Take down the bad guys.
Take out down the bad guy, chasing you down an alley. Tackling you with zip ties, taking you to the police station. But I don't have to follow police rules. You know what? I don't think in reality, I'd probably be a better librarian, but the badassery of bounty hunter is very appealing to me.
There you go. All right. Well, so Ross, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me, Sam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, thank you all for watching. We'll be back next week with another episode. Take care.